That way?
Coming that way a little bit more.
Which way? How's that?
Yeah, that's great.
Good?
Yeah.
And if you're sort of talking, that would be cool.
No problems. Everyone here? Good. Well, kia ora everybody, it's great to be here. It's my first official visit to Rātana as the leader, or incoming leader of the Labour Party and incoming Prime Minister of New Zealand. The Rātana relationship has always been very special to the Labour Party ever since TW Rātana first called on Michael Joseph Savage. It has been a really important relationship. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that when we get there. So for now, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Incoming Prime Minister, what are your feelings about Jacinda Ardern's last day today here at Rātana?
We travelled up here in the van together. It was nice for us to get an opportunity to spend a little bit of time together. We had an opportunity to sort of reflect on the last few years. So it's a bittersweet moment. Obviously, I'm really honoured to be taking on the role. But yeah, as well known, Jacinda's a very good friend of mine, and so it was nice to be able to be here with her.
How fitting of a farewell is this?
I think it's an amazing opportunity to farewell Jacinda. I think it does speak to the importance of the relationship between the Labour Party and Rātana, I think it's a good moment.
Do you feel like you're Prime Minister now, or do you not think that will kick in until tomorrow?
There are moments where it sinks in, and then there are moments where it still doesn't quite feel real. So, I think this will be a really, really nice day. I've been coming here for nearly 20 years now. My first visit was in 2004 when Helen Clark was the Prime Minister, and it's always been a really positive, upbeat way to start the political year, and so it's it's really fantastic to be here.
On that note, Chris Luxon has just given a really political speech around co-governance. Is this the right forum for that?
Look, political leaders can make their own calls about what it is that they choose to talk about. I'm going to be talking a bit about the relationship between Labour and Rātana. I'm going to talk a little bit about myself and introduce myself to some of the leaders here who I haven't had the opportunity to get to know, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. And I will talk briefly a little bit about the road ahead. But each leader makes their own calls about what they choose to emphasise.
He says that the country has had an immature conversation around co-governance, and that is because the government hasn't communicated it properly. Do you think that's fair?
Look, as I said yesterday, the National Party's position on these sorts of issues seems to change quite a lot between when they're in government and when they're in opposition. The last national government with John Key and Christopher Finlayson and Bill English entered into a whole raft of co-governance arrangements through the treaty settlement process. And like I said, there's quite a lot of variation in the co-governance arrangements that they entered into. Perhaps Christopher Luxon would like to say which of those he's now going to go back on.
Both you and Chris Luxon have said that the message has been a little bit confused. Can you coherently tell New Zealanders what actually co-governance is?
Well, it's what I said yesterday. Co-governance arrangements that have been entered into take a variety of different forms. I think from my perspective, what the most important thing we can do is talk to New Zealanders and to explain to New Zealanders what we're doing and why we're doing it in the contexts. And it is different in each context.
It's sort of lamentable, the state of the debate at the moment, though, isn't it?
I think that race relations should not be ever used as an issue to divide New Zealanders with.
And do you think it has been used by some politicians to divide New Zealanders?
Certainly in the past it has been, absolutely.
How would you characterise the strength currently between Rātana and Labour?
We have a very, very strong relationship. We've got a number of Rātana MPs in our caucus who we're very, very proud of, and I'll talk a little bit more about them, but one in particular I'm going to talk a little bit about very shortly. The relationship is a very special one.
How's your te reo?
It's not that good, and I'm going to talk a little bit candidly about that as well, because I'm a New Zealander who grew up in a time when te reo Māori wasn't widely used in our schooling system. One of the things as Minister of Education that has given me great heart is I have visited schools up and down the country where I have heard 6- and 7-year-olds speaking in te reo Māori far more fluently than I can. It is far more used in our education system now than it ever was before, and I think that should be a point of pride for New Zealand.
Can you now recite the three other?
Yeah, Oretitanga was the one that I couldn't remember the other day. I knew what it was, I just couldn't remember the Māori word for it. Look, but I don't want to turn it into a pop quiz. Most New Zealanders probably won't be able to recite the 3 articles of the treaty. That doesn't mean that the relationship between Māori and the rest of the country isn't a very strong one.
Is that a failure of your education system?
No, because I learned them in school. The fact that I can't recite them by memory isn't a failure of the education system.
You're being sworn in as Prime Minister tomorrow. What is going to be the first thing that you do officially?
I believe there's a cabinet meeting. There will be almost straight after the swearing in.
What are your priorities in said cabinet meeting?
Look, I'll share those with cabinet beforehand, but we will have a post-cabinet press conference where we'll talk about that.
Are there any sorts of policies you want to get off the plate at that first conference?
I'm certainly not going to be going through all of that today.
What did you and Jacinda Ardern reflect on and talk about on your car ride over here?
Well, I guess with any two people who have known each other for a long time, there's lots of different things to reflect on. We've talked about our experiences here at Rātana, and over the years, we've both been here roughly, probably the same number of times, so we're able to reflect on that. And she offered me a few words of advice, which I will keep between the two of us.
What kind of advice?
I think you missed the last bit of what I just said.
But if you're not going to go into the specifics of it, can you was it life advice or family advice?
Yeah, but a bit of everything. We were in the car for 2 hours, so we had time to talk about plenty.
What was your favourite piece of advice?
I'll just keep that to myself for now.
Mr. Hipkins, in the media blitz yesterday we learned that Ms Ardern first confided in you that she felt exhausted around Christmas last year. Can I ask when Grant Robertson ruled himself out as Prime Minister to you?
Not long before the caucus meeting. Okay, thanks everybody. Cheers.
Hang on, sorry, one moment. We just need to.
Oh, hey! Nice to see you. Thank you. Oh, yeah, so just wait. Yeah, just however many.
Since you enjoy it so much.
Yeah. Top of my list of things I'll miss.
Prime Minister, how are you feeling today, your final day, carrying the weight of being Prime Minister?
Oh, this feels like a really special day to me, predominantly because I get to see my colleague and friend Chris Hipkins take on the mantle over the next 48 hours, and that's a really special thing to be a part of.
How relieved are you?
Oh, I wouldn't describe it in that way because whilst there's been a bit of commentary in the aftermath of my departure, I would hate for anyone to view my departure as a negative commentary on New Zealand. I've experienced such love, compassion, empathy and kindness when I've been in this job. That has been my predominant experience. So I leave feeling gratitude for having this wonderful role for so many years.
Chris Hipkins said you gave him some advice in the van on the way over.
Oh.
Would you like to share it with us?
Do you know, I couldn't be specific because there was 2 hours of reckons. So, no, actually, all of that's for him. Do you know what? Probably the most important advice I gave him was you do you. It's for him.
It was a long trip. Were there any awkward silences?
No, we've been friends for, going on 20 years. You don't have awkward silences at that time.
What was your advice to him? What was your advice to him today before he was about to speak?
Yeah, probably as I just said, you do you. This is for him now. It's for him to carve out his own space, be his own kind of leader. Actually, there's no advice I can really impart. I can share information, I can share experiences, but this is now for him.
And he's talked about getting sort of back to basics, a bread and butter type of politics. Do you see that as a bit of an indictment on your government that you took too far in some ways?
Not at all, no.
Are you disappointed?
Last two then,
President Luxon has given quite a lot of, made a lot of political comments in his speech today. How do you feel about that, given how Rātana is often considered to be apolitical?
I think that's now a matter for the incoming leader of the Labour Party and the incoming Prime Minister. I'll share a few thoughts today, but there are more words of thanks than commentary on politics. And you won't find me commentating on domestic politics. I've had my time. It's now for the new team.
Leaving here today will possibly be the last time a lot of people see you in public. Do you have a message to the New Zealand public?
Oh, people will see me in public. I'm not going anywhere, and by that I mean that I am still the MP for Mount Albert. I've got duties to perform. You will see me out and about, but you won't see me in the centre and the cut of thrust of politics. That's for a new team now, and I wish them only the best.
Who's your seat buddy in the House?
Oh, no, I'm going to miss people because that's been the joy of the job, and so my only words are words of thanks.
Who's going to be your seat buddy in the House? You'll be sitting somewhere else.
Oh, I don't know. That'll be a sign. You won't see me in the House a lot.
Are you ready to be a backbench MP again?
Yes, I am. I'm ready to be lots of things. I'm ready to be a backbench MP. I'm ready to be a sister and a mum.
How will you spend this tomorrow?
Thank you.
Here you go, Jason. Thank you. Love you, Jason.